Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Motorhead Garage is presented by DragonFireTools.com. This week we are hanging out at LazerCon. It's the annual convention for the folks at AP Lazer and their customers to come together and share ideas. One of the big attractions this year is the new fiber laser from AP Lazer. Now Tristan, in short, how is a fiber laser different from the CO2 lasers we've seen in the past from AP Lazer?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest benefit with the fiber laser is that you don't require any additional marking spray. So when you're in the automotive industry, you're dealing with a lot of metallic parts there. Dealing with something like a CO2 laser, you're going to need to add a marking spray such as Surmark or Brilliance, which is a compound that you would apply to the surface of the material before engraving. That's going to allow you to get different colors such as a black engraving. The benefit in short of this machine here is that you won't require any of that material there. So what that's going to do is it's going to increase the amount of throughput you have with creating your components and your parts, because you no longer have to worry about waiting for that spray to cure, as well as inconsistently applying that coating to it that could potentially cause issues with your engraving.
So this is particularly good for a business, someone who's doing a lot of parts, or maybe has an assembly line or something like that.
Absolutely. So a big thing, you might be doing a lot of branding. Maybe you're a race car company and you need to have your team's number on each one of your components so that you don't lose anything. Your tools that are in your toolbox. Everybody hates losing their 10 mil.
The open architecture of AP Lazer is another famous feature. It's unique to the industry, and it enables you to pass big objects. We've seen car hoods and doors go into the AP Lazer.
Absolutely.
How is that especially beneficial here on the fiber laser?
Certainly. So with the fiber laser, like I said, being able to mark metal components there, say, you might want to engrave your engine block or your valve covers. You could utilize this machine here to be able to pass the object through and then angle the machine in respect to the engraving surface of that object, rather than trying to manipulate some large, heavy industrial piece around. So a major benefit there, using these four easy level legs, we're able to tilt the machine there, and then obviously use the pass-through, saving you with ergonomics, saving you with time, and all around a lot of headache that you won't have to deal with.
Now Tristan, what are some of the accessories you're making at AP Lazer to make the job easier for folks that are using the fiber laser?
Absolutely, so that's a good question. This unit here is our tabletop rotary unit. It's essentially a unit based around throughput, so you'll be able to mass produce various parts. Something that's very beneficial with this, like we were talking about, would be your exhaust tips on the machine there. Say you have 8 tips to do on a race car there. You can load them all in at once, just like these tumblers are, place the tips within these grooves here, and then you would be able to use this rotary tool and its indexing functions to go around and engrave each of these tips all in one shot there, rather than spending a lot of time, especially in, like you mentioned previously, manufacturing settings where you're dealing with very high volume. Something like this, very practical, very beneficial to what you're doing.
That is slick. So what's next here?
Sure, so what we have here is our black extender rotary. This is a very common, iconic one for AP Lazer. It's your standard friction rotary that you got going on here with a clip, a stopper, your slave wheels and drive wheels here. This unit here is able to unlock, raise, and lower, as well as come all the way out here. This is perfect if you're doing longer pieces, maybe an entire exhaust pipe. So you're easily able to lay the piece right on top. This clip's removable, and then you're able to engrave around the object itself. So something like this, where you're doing a surface engraving, on here you're able to do full wraps around the part itself.
Cool, and for smaller parts here we have this.
Absolutely, so this is what we refer to as our jewelry rotary. Some people refer to it as the small chuck rotary here. This object is primarily for, like you said, very small, lightweight objects. It features a spring here that allows the jaws to open and also retract inwards, depending on how you would like to hold the part in place. And then as well, like any rotary tool, you're going to be using it to rotate and engrave around the object itself. Using a couple features here, you're not only restricted to circular objects, you could use it to engrave multiple sides of said object as well. So,
and quickly, last but not least,
Yeah, absolutely. So this here is our standard chuck rotary tool. So this is something similar to, your industrial lathes that you'd be used to, where you have the chuck fitting on the end here. With this tool here, there is a chuck key that you would place into here, which opens up these jaws. We do feature a couple different types of jaws, ones that expand outwards and bite the object from the inside, as well as some that bite the object from the outside, and some of our new chuck jigs here that are used to grab onto larger objects. So something like this, you would just open these jaws completely, expand the teeth, and then you would be able to fix the object onto the end and again utilize this to engrave and do full wraps onto your parts.
AP Lazer continues to lead the way. Now they're leading the way in fiber lasers and the accessories to go with them. You can find all of this and more at aplazer.com. And if you mention Motorhead Garage sent you, you'll get a special discount. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com, so don't go anywhere.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
Motorhead Garage is presented by DragonFireTools.com. Just a few years ago, there was a study, and it said that humans can distinguish between over 1 trillion different odors. And of course, when it comes to cars, that can be good. As motorheads, we love the scent of racing fuel, we love burning rubber, and who doesn't love that new car smell? But bad odors can ruin a good time in any vehicle. Just think about it. Mold and mildew in an RV or a boat, pet odors, old food, especially if you have little kids like I do, or the worst, cigarette or cigar smoke. Air fresheners and sprays just mask the odor, and you end up with the smell of strawberries and smoke, or lemon and mildew. It's super gross. Those sprays and air fresheners never actually take care of the problem. But Dead Scent is different. Dead Scent actually eliminates odors at the source. Now, I won't get into the weeds with the science, but when you activate Dead Scent, it produces environmentally safe chlorine dioxide. Those chlorine dioxide molecules actually break up the odor molecules and eliminate the bad scent on the spot. Now, I know what you're asking. Dead Scent is safe for people. It's safe for pets. It is safe for the environment. The package is even recyclable. And yes, Dead Scent is simple to use in your car, RV, your boat, or your home. Scott Vestal, our head of operations here, bought a classic Corvette just a few months ago. It was in good shape, but the previous owners were smokers. Scott remembered that we had a Dead Scent treatment pack on one of our studio shelves. He ran one single treatment of Dead Scent and the smell was totally gone. He tells me that after the treatment, he aired out the car and there was no trace of smoke to be found. And I've been in the car, and believe me, if it smelled like smoke, I wouldn't have gotten in the first place. But don't believe us. Here's a review from the trash crew at the Buffalo Chip Campground, one of the main centers of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Wally wrote to say that he used Dead Scent in the crew's trailer. Now we're talking hardworking folks who've been sweating all day and slinging garbage. Just imagine the smell in there. Well, Dead Scent completely eliminated those odors for good. You can find sterling reviews for Dead Scent all over the interwebs. And these are real endorsements from real users. Joy used Dead Scent after her husband forgot some hamburgers in the freezer for a couple of weeks. When they went to take their camper out for another trip, they discovered thousands of flies and the horrible smell of rotting meat. Joy says she was afraid she'd never be able to use her camper again, but Dead Scent came to the rescue. It completely removed the rotten meat smell, and Joy and her husband are happy campers once again. Logan W. had a leaky sunroof, and we know how that kind of mildew can smell really badly for a long time. Well, not after using Dead Scent. And finally, Flo K. has a yacht that stayed sealed up for 2 years, and just imagine what that smelled like. Flo followed the instructions, and she used Dead Scent, and the smell is history. You can find tons of testimonials just like those at deadscent.com. Everything you need to treat even the most offensive odors comes in one package, and there are different sizes depending on what type or size vehicle you're treating. Dead Scent couldn't be easier to use. Check this out. If you can, first of all, you park your vehicle in the shade or you wait till there's no direct sunlight on it. Probably a good idea to lay down a towel before you start the treatment. Then you just open the clamshell and take everything out of the package, pour in some water, fill it right up to the fill line, and you are almost done. Now, take the treatment packet and place it blue side down in the water. That's really important. You'll see it start to react immediately. You just exit and close the space, whether it's a room, a car, an RV, or a boat, and you just wait overnight or for about 6 hours, and you'll be all set. When you come back, just open the windows and air out the space, and you are done. You'll smell the dead scent, which has a clean, maybe slightly salty smell to it, but not for long. Once you air out the vehicle or the room, you will not smell a thing. Pet odors, body odors, vomit, pet accidents, smoke, all gone. And that's because dead scent doesn't mask anything. It eliminates the odors right at the source. I mentioned that I have kids who drop food in the car, which can get stinky. And at last count, we also have about 1 trillion cats. They love it in the den, and sometimes they even find the litter box. But for the times when they don't, Dead Scent has Ultimate Enzyme Spray. You can buy it in 2 different sizes. I'm going to see if I can buy a tanker truck of it. Actually, a little goes a long way. Dead Scent's Ultimate Enzyme Spray uses special microbes to target urine and other organic odors, and the enzymes in the spray eliminate odors right at the source. You will not be able to smell them anymore. It's so good that your pets will even be unlikely to return to the spot again to do their thing or to mark their territory in the first place. Yes, the Ultimate Enzyme Spray is safe to use around your pets. It's safe for the environment. You can use it on pavement, gravel, walls, fake grass, and of course carpets and furniture. But it's not just for pet odors. Parents and daycare workers, you know what kind of smells I'm talking about. And the Ultimate Enzyme Spray is great for trash cans, dumpsters, and even that fridge or garbage disposal. You can read a pile of reviews online. Dead Scent really works, and with very little effort. Just think about how miserable a bad-smelling car or RV can make you feel. Take back your vehicle, get Dead Scent, and eliminate the odor at the source. Find it at deadscent.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com, so do not go anywhere.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon studio.
Black gold, bubbling crude, Texas tea. We've all heard those terms before. We're talking about oil. And how do we get it out of the ground from here all the way over to here? There's a ton of science that AMSOIL puts into it to make that product, man. Talk a little bit about it.
I'm gonna give you a short answer version of that. Otherwise, we're gonna need more than a 30-minute show to get this done. To get from the crude process requires a refinery. The oil is refined as it comes out of the ground. That would be considered your conventionals, your minerals, your crude oil comes right out of the ground, runs through the refinery. At the refinery, the oil can be cut off based on temperature, and it turns into different things. Diesel fuel being one of them, gasoline being one of them. But oil, the base stocks that we use, which makes up 80% of the product, comes from that process.
And it gets to this product here. Now, also, we're talking about synthetic and conventional oil. Now, crude, is it crude or not crude? I know there's a lot of misconceptions there, and I don't even know. Walk us through that process.
Right, and that's what you have to understand, is that 80% of our product is base oil, not crude oil. Okay, to build a synthetic, and there's several ways that this can be done, but many of the synthetics that we use at AMSOIL are the higher end synthetics. So what that means is you take a molecule, if you will, you have to get all the way down to that molecular structure. You take a molecule, you react it with some other things that we're not getting into, and you end up with a brand new molecule on the other end of that. There's your synthetic molecule. You continue to do that over and over and over again. That's what creates your true synthetic, full synthetic base stock.
Now, as a customer, what do I do? Do I put regular oil in, synthetic oil? What's my best choices? You have so many of them.
There's so many different products out there. There's blends, there's conventionals. AMSOIL obviously specializes in high-end, full synthetic products. So, you know, you're gonna find me recommending the synthetic every single time. But as you know, synthetics are just becoming, you know, table stakes. They're showing up in the owner's manual. Because of the performance levels of some of these engines and the requirements, synthetics are becoming needed.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm all about table stakes. I'm all about buying the best products that I can possibly buy. Just go to amsoil.com and you'll find them all there.
If you look up the definition of Motorhead, you'll find a photo of Nikki Clark. She is our paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week. Now, when Nikki was little, her parents fielded an alcohol dragster, so naturally she was hooked. As an adult, she gravitated to the racing world, working in public relations for Ford and for various racing drivers. Her PR and media experience led her eventually to Wish TV in Indianapolis, where she's the programming and promotions director. And of course, being in Indianapolis, motorsports is a huge part of what Wish TV covers. And it's through Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network that Nikki hosts the popular podcast, Women Take the Wheel. Nikki tells me her passion is getting girls into motorsports and showing them the right way to do it. The Women Take the Wheel podcast features women involved in every form of racing and in every aspect of the sport. Nikki Clark is passionate about motorsports, to say the least, and her love for being a mentor to other women and girls makes her the perfect paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week. Tell us who should be the next Motorhead of the Week. Just send us a note at motorheadgarage.tv. We've got more Motorhead Garage presented by dragonfiretools.com just around the corner. Stay tuned.
Motorhead Garage presented by dragonfiretools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by paintedautobodyparts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. Alcan Spring, the finest handcrafted leaf springs on the planet. And by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977.
This is Motorhead Garage presented by dragonfiretools.com. Now, if you are restoring or building a classic vehicle, you know the foundation is the most important thing, and that foundation is the chassis. And Anthony, you find once people start working on an old vehicle, what do they find when they pull the skin away and take a look at the chassis?
Well, the chassis, a lot of these older ones are rusted and need repair of some kind. We started out building front and rear suspensions that could be added to, say, like a 1950 model vehicle. And as we got into them, we found out that they were rusted. And I started designing a complete chassis that would use our front and rear suspension in it, so we could upgrade the front to better braking, better handling. So we converted it to a front steer rack and pinion. We can use late model Mustang brakes from 94 all the way up to 2014 Mustang brakes. There are options that we can do either one of them on this chassis. So we can go from 11 to a 14-inch rotor factory style brake on these, or any of the aftermarket brakes for them.
Now, a chassis from AJE Suspension is super adaptable. It's also very strong and it's lightweight. How do you make it so strong and still keep the weight off?
Well, we keep a 6-inch cross-sectional width on the vertical section of the frame, and we can change this 2-inch tube to adapt different cab mounts and different wheelbases and things like that that come into play for the different chassis that we're doing.
So what do folks need to tell you when they're doing a build or restoring a truck?
Well, mainly we need to know the year, then options that they're wanting, what engine, what kind of brakes, and just basic information of what they're going to want to end up with.
There's a lot of things you do at AJE Suspension that are unique, and one of the things I really love is you're using a lot of parts that folks can get at an auto parts store, so they don't have to go get a specialty part from you should something break or they get in an accident or something like that.
Correct. I mean, the main thing is that we use a hub from a 94 to 04 Mustang, and so that way we can adapt from the 11 to 13-inch brakes the way it comes. If you want to do an option to do the 14-inch brakes from a 2015 Mustang, we have a system for that also. But we use Mustang lower ball joints and we use Chrysler screw-in ball joints for the uppers. So anything that might wear or break is easily gotten from your auto parts stores.
And there's a unique design here. I haven't seen suspension that's quite laid out like this. So tell me about some of the special features you have here, especially to make it adjustable.
Okay, one of the things that we do on our upper control arm, we use a jack screw here, so they're left and right-handed threads, so they're easy to adjust camber on them. We use a Fox body style rack, and we can do a power or manual, but we put an extension on the passenger side to extend it out, but we keep the steering shaft over close to the frame rail, so you get a little bit more exhaust clearance and things like that.
And you make it super easy to mount any motor that folks might want to use.
Correct. We use our own engine mounting system, and we have mounts where you can put a new Godzilla, a Coyote, EcoBoost, LS, 3rd Gen Hemis, so we can mount just about anything you want with this chassis.
And we talked about rigidity here. Let's take a look at the X bracing that you have here. This is a unique design, very cool.
It's our own design, and then we do a safety loop on it, so your drive shaft runs through there, and if you have a U-joint problem or anything, it will keep it from hitting the ground.
And rigidity is super important when it comes to the rear end. You want to make sure you don't have any twisting back there.
We use a triangulated 4-link similar to what's in the Fox bodies and the SN95 Mustangs, but we convert it to a coilover rear shock, and we have adjustable uppers so we can do different pinion angles, we can change ride heights. We do an anti-roll bar that we mount underneath it, so that helps handling. And with the coilover rear shocks, we can change spring rates, so if you want to put a little bit of weight in the bed, we can.
We mentioned the adaptability here of the chassis. How many different models of trucks do you deal with?
Our Ford line, we do 48 through 96. So the earlier ones were straight axles, the later ones were twin I-beams, but we can adapt to either one of them. Then in the Dodges, we can do 48 through 93 on those. And then we're 48 to 59 on the Chevrolet truck chassis.
Now, I know folks are restoring trucks more and more these days, but your bread and butter is the classic Mustang, and this is where it kind of started for AJE Suspension about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So tell me about this K-member and what makes it special.
Well, we started building these K-members back in the mid-90s. They've had a couple changes over the years, but our biggest difference between ours and everybody else is our engine mounting system. So if you want to put the 2300 four-cylinder in it, all we have to do is change the engine mounting plates. The K-member stays the same.
And the mounting plate is also something that makes this really easy to install, and it makes it stronger as well.
One of the differences in ours and some of the other ones is this hole right here is the one that locates the K-member. This one squares it up in the car. That's the way they were done as they went down the assembly line. So this actually bolts in and is square as long as your car is right.
Now, it's not just this era of Mustang. You also make for every era except for the Mustang 2, and also for a lot of other big 3 models. So if you got a classic car or truck, AJE Suspension is the place to go, AJEsuspension.com. Lots of places to find them on the web, and they've got something for you if you have a classic vehicle. We have hit the finish line for this edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. We'll do it again next week, same time, same sandbox, and streaming just about everywhere. Thanks for tuning in. Drive safely.